The Select Committee on Rail Safety just adopted a 132-page report signifying an end to months of meetings and investigations into the derailment in East Palestine.
10 TV's Collier Dorsey was at that meeting today and has more tonight.
As time goes by, people are going to forget about East Palestine, and I don't want that to ever happen.
With images like these, it's hard to imagine that people will ever forget. But things are starting to change.
Things have changed a lot there. When you're down at ground zero, all the tracks have been ripped out, so that smell is gone, and we're starting to get back to normal. But the anxiety is still there, especially with the farmers. We're seeing that's where the real concern is.
The Select Rail Committee will re-adjourn.
Today's report merely contains recommendations of what can be done. Two last-minute amendments were added. One puts a time frame on monitoring the soil. This recommendation would be for the state to monitor ground chemicals for at least 20 years. The next would provide money for yearly reports on agriculture in the East Palestine region. Toledo Democrat Paula Hicks Hudson, with their hands tied by federal regulations, this was about finding what they could do.
It's about what you can do. And so that's why, we as legislators, we need to make sure that we push forward on those things that we can and not use the federal government as a shield to say, oh, we can't do anything because they've already legislated in that area.
For East Palestine resident and mom Jess Connard,
it's still just as terrifying as it was the weekend that it happened.
She's grateful for the work of the state committee, but says there needs to be more action from Washington.
We're starting to, really push for that emergency declaration because we know those cancer clusters are coming, and in 20 years we want to make sure that these illnesses do not bankrupt us.
Connard adds a federal disaster declaration would help bring some normalcy back to eastern Ohio.
Norfolk Southern is not an emergency management agency, and the EPA has exceeded their capabilities here in East Palestine. So what we really need is to meet those individual needs.
Well, that was Colin Dorsey reporting. Now, Senators J.D. Vance and Sherrod Brown are continuing to push President Biden for that disaster declaration. They also have legislation working through the Senate, which could clamp down regulations on rail companies. But for now, that's tied up in Washington, and we're waiting on legislation here in Ohio.